See, it should be over here.
I would unplug this one, plug it back in. Okay. I don't know how you switch to something.
Yeah.
Do you have to switch to?
Okay, can somebody talk from home?
I'm wondering if you can hear me. I've got my
Yeah.
audio on and my little audio thing is jumping up
def-
and down.
Yeah, we can definitely hear you. It's
Okay.
just,
You probably have to do something.
I probably have to do something here.
Because it didn't give you that pop up, so it might have switched
Okay,
back to the,
maybe, okay.
but I don't mind doing it.
Can
So
you test again there, Eliza, for me?
Hello,
just
how
said
are you?
fine.
It is Monday evening. Is everybody happy and having a
Oh,
good
now I
day?
can't hear you. Oh, so I've
Uh-oh.
muted. I don't know why this is. Well, I mean, we can hear you. And
Hmm.
can you hear me when I'm back here? Like, am I a normal voice or not?
Yes,
Okay. So you can hear all
maybe
right.
the mic's working.
Maybe the mic is working. So we're going to start with the 7-line prayer. Then we're going to do a 5-minute meditation. And then we'll start talking about the wheel of life. Okay. Organ yuki nu jung song. Pema kesa dong po la. Yatsen choki no tu ne. Pema chung ne she sutra. Kordu kadro mang po kor. Teki jesu dog du pi. Jingi lo tu shek su so. Guru Pema Siddhi Om. One more. Organ Yogi Nu Jung Song. Pema Gesar Dong Po La. Yasen Choki No Tru De. Pema Chunde She Sutra. Kordu Kandro Mang Po Kor. Keki Jesu Da Truki. Jingi Lao Jesu So. Guru Pema Siddhi. In English, whom at Oregon's northwestern frontier, on the stem and corona of the lotus flower, wondrous supreme accomplishment attained, and as the lotus form renowned, encircled by a retinue of many dakinis, so that I may become like you. Please come and grant your blessings. Guru Pema Siddhi Boom. So now, however you can find your mind for producing openness without karma, do that for the next 5 minutes. We will meditate. Okay, that concludes our 5-minute meditation. And now we can, hi, Tim. Good to see you.
Sorry,
Can
I'm late. I'm having a deer issue at my house.
Oh, my.
I have a mother deer and a baby deer in my yard, and the baby deer, I don't know how it got in my yard, but it can't hop back over the fence to be with the mother.
Yeah.
So I
So
might have to check in and check out throughout the session. So
Oh, very good. Well, there must be something in the stars or the cosmology, because Eliza is dealing with some home issues as well. Hers
yeah.
is
Oh, okay.
so the checking in and out works.
Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, Jackson's here too. And for those of you who are at home, I wanted to point out that we have this wonderful book here at the center. What is the name of that, John?
Celestial Gallery, Mandalas and Meditations.
So mandalas and meditations, and you can see it's huge, right?
Yeah.
What I'll try to do is take a picture, because Paula made the comment that, this is as detailed as the illustration in the book, which is a line drawing, and which I couldn't really make hide nor hair of. I mean, I could make a little, but it was really hard to see. So if you get to the center, this book is, you walk in immediately to your left next to the picture of Rinpoche and his friend. So, you can pull it out and look, because it's really something. And I will try and take a picture and send it, so that if you want to like expand it on your home screen, you might be able to see some of the detail, because it's really gorgeous. And what it says, commonly referred to as the Wheel of Life, this classical image from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition depicts the psychological states or realms of existence associated with the unenlightened state. A powerful mirror for spiritual aspirants, the wheel of diluted existence is often painted to the left of Tibetan monastery doors. It offers an opportunity for monks and pilgrims alike to look deeply into their essential being. So for myself, I know this is my second time through the wheel. And the first time through, I was like, what the heck? And it was really complex. And Paula, who's practiced for decades, says, yes, it is indeed complex, but it's also very true. And it's very helpful for us as we approach different ways to look at our own paths through life. So that's why we've kind of slowed down going through chapter 6, because the goal is, by the time we finish this chapter, we'll have a pretty solid understanding of how the wheel of life is set up and points to us in meaningful ways, our trajectories along the path. So anybody at home or here is welcome to share their experience with the Wheel of Life. I think John said this is your first time through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I expect that, so, and the other comment before class started that Paula made was that Chogyam Trungpa is approaching all of this, the Book of Karma and the Wheel of Life, through the Vajrayana practice, which is a very sophisticated practice in Tibetan Buddhism. We often are on the path for years and years. And I think Rinpoche referenced this when he was here. Like he says, it's like 8 or 9 years before you've reached the meditative state to even start to consider
of us are on a path, and only your teacher knows whether you're there or not. So it's not that this is over our heads, but if we don't get it all right away, there are probably reasons for that. So I thought, so we know kind of the purpose of the wheel. Yama is really important because Yama is, that was the explanation he offered in the book, I thought was quite good. If somebody wants to read who Yama is, that would be helpful. He's the personification of death who provides time for birth, death, and survival. He provides the medium where the 12 nidanas, which we're going to talk about tonight on the outer wheel, are born and die. The wheel in Yama's jaws is based on the Four Noble Truths, and the outer ring holds the nidanas as the evolution of suffering. So it can be psychological states as we deal with something, or it can be our own path as we travel through life. And is there another way of referencing this as we practice that you all are aware of?
Well, I'm aware of, my memory is not so good, but I have had extensive teachings on this, but there was another take on it. That it's a life cycle from birth to death. But it's also, there's different points in here where you could say this is where it begins. So it doesn't always begin at birth. There's other ways of looking at it where different points is where it begins. And the other thing I recall that I think was really profound is when you study the wheel going in the one direction, then the way out of samsara is going the other direction. So it starts out with, well, we'll go through what it starts out with, but it goes through in an order that goes clockwise.
Correct.
But if you start at the end, like if you don't have grasping, then you don't have contact. If you don't have contact, you don't have feeling and form. So the way to reverse samsara is to meditate on the reversal of it.
So you would meditate on the reversal of, like, if you were in death and the charnel grounds, you would go back and meditate on birth, and then the copulating couple, and then the grasping. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but like I say, even though I've had, I had really extensive teachings on this from a lama who really wanted to make sure we understood it. So
Yeah.
he went through it slowly, and this was many years ago. I haven't brushed up on it actually before our talk tonight, but I do recall that going in the clockwise direction is an explanation of how samsara works, really.
Yes.
And so if by meditating on the opposite, it was sort of like, well, if you don't do this, then that isn't going to happen. So like, it would be the opposite of like if you're, I don't know, if you're stuck in the ocean and you can't get out. Well, if you didn't go in the ocean, you wouldn't be stuck there. So it's like that all the way around, that you wouldn't be in this particular situation if you hadn't, in reverse. I'm not explaining very well, but maybe once we get through the whole thing, we can sort of look at that again and see what his point was.
That would be great. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I can see how, going, oh, I'm really grasping in this situation. I'm really attached to whatever. And then meditating on that and maybe going back to see where that originated. I could see, but not like, I don't think I'd go through all 12 steps at my level anyway. But
Yeah.
I can see how that would be helpful.
I mean, for me, I'm trying to put it in what it encouraged like reflection on the different stages of life, of reality, and made me realize we're all impermanent, how things change. He used the term, I'm not sure exactly, compulsive nowness in the book.
Yes.
I wa-
Yes.
I wasn't quite sure what he meant. I mean, I can figure out what he meant, but I'm just curious to what other people's opinions on that term is. Is that
There's compulsive nowness in, like this is in the introduction, the iconography of the Tibetan Wheel of Life, or Baba Chakra, it's a portrait of samsara. It's also, as Eliza referenced, an undoing of the samsaric coil, which is
Mhm.
nirvana. And then the third point was the wheel of life represents the compulsive nowness in which the universe recurs. And he elucidates a little by saying the death of one experience gives birth to the next within the realm of time. Like we need time in
Yeah,
order to go through all of this. And Yama is providing that time so that we go through all of this. Each new experience contains the quality of the previous one, which was another point that I was kind of wondering about. Within the realm of possibility, the pattern of chain reactions, the 12 nidanas develops. But he doesn't really explain compulsive nowness more than that.
yeah. And I don't know if it's him or somewhere else. They used the term inevitable outcome. So like you were just saying, just one thing kind of leads to another, and it's our destiny, I guess. I can't think of it.
Well, it is, as long as we are not engaged in the actual path towards seeing what is true through meditation, is all I can figure. Would you agree with that?
That certainly is, definitely true. It's like we all live in this karmic body, and this is a product of this whole system here. And it's been built over many lifetimes of many nownesses. And we have the opportunity in the human realm to actually understand it, as opposed to just having to do it. But most of us just go on automatic all the time anyway. So meditation helps us to be more present in the now, which means more conscious of what's actually going on at that moment. And in our minds, in our bodies, in our lives, whatever it takes, I think that's pretty much it. It doesn't stop the process. It just allows us to be aware of it more. So the more we can be aware of it, the more we can actually go, oh yeah, no, but I don't need, because this happened, I don't have to do this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
The cause and effect thing the balance of the cause and effect thing can change a little bit. And you can change your life because of that, in the direction of your life.
And you would have to undo all this to be enlightened.
I'm assuming that the teachers would say that. However, I'm not sure how enlightenment actually works.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm
For sure.
not sure that it is sequential. Okay, so that's another kind of concept of, oh yeah, we have to undo this and undo this and undo this.
To undo it,
In
yeah.
other words, I think it can happen, like a whole bunch of stuff can happen all at once of undoing. If within your practice, it just depends on your mind, how it works, how, and your ability to understand that level of consciousness. That's how I get it.
That makes sense to me. It kind of relates to what Eliza was saying too. You could see I'm really struggling with this and meditate in that area. And maybe that would release something in other areas.
Right. You may have more, let's say, karmic relationship to some part of this Nadana wheel than others. And that means that there's more stuck energy there, more, stuff that needs to be looked at or worked with, and let go of or transformed.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not sequential. That's all I can tell you. Where it's presented in a sequential way, but it doesn't necessarily work in a sequential way. So it's not, I mean, this is a really good tool for understanding the components of it. But I think it's important not to get stuck with, oh, but I can't deal with this because I haven't dealt with
Yeah,
this yet.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To undo, but
Yeah.
I kind of got the feeling it was, this is how it develops. Not, but nothing more than that. So I guess I'm not saying. It happens this way, but it isn't talking about undoing it, so.
So that may be more in the last part of the chapter. I don't know yet. But let's go through these 12 stages because it's like the outer ring holds the evolution of suffering. And the inner ring portrays the 6 realms, which teachers reference constantly, the 6 realms, the animal realm, the human realm, the predator realm. The center of the wheel portrays the 3 poisons of passion, aggression, and ignorance. So you've got the pig and the rooster and the snake. And the outer ring. So that's all we're really dealing with this week, so that maybe we'll remember most of it as we go forward.
I tried to find where each one was on here. So I found it pretty difficult to see the
Yeah, so you got,
pictures on here.
yes,
This is much
this is
easier.
better. Yeah, so that's
I
why.
had to zoom in with my phone camera and.
Oh, I couldn't see that. I mean, I was
That's
like,
how I did it.
okay, I do not see the
It
copulated
wasn't
color.
really helpful to have such a detailed drawing in such a small,
Yeah,
presentation. So this was very helpful because I was reading through it and looking at it and going, oh.
Yeah, I got a little, I couldn't, I mean, it seemed to go in a circle, but I couldn't find stuff. Like one, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember which one I finally was like, oh, that's definitely, I think it was 4, that's 4. So, and then I started,
then you
and
kind
I
of
started
put it
filling it
together.
in, but
Yeah, you have to kind of land where you can find something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really, that's good in terms of, okay, this is generally what it is, but the one in this book is so much more detailed on the outside because they've got context and the details are amazing if you get in here and get a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Yama holds the wheel, death holds the wheel, the outer ring.
Time
We
and
did
space.
that. Time and space. Nidana is a Sanskrit term meaning cause or motivation. So the cause of our suffering.
Mhm.
The outer ring presents the evolutionary stages of suffering through the 12 Nidanas. The Nidanas represent the inescapable chain of coincidence that brings imprisonment and pain. The first Nidana, ignorance or the blind grandmother. And what I noticed with that is that in some writings, they say the old person, but I had a grandmother who was like this, so I really related to it. the one who's really interested in what you're doing more as a, you know, something that validates what she's done in her life, and very gossipy and very, but I love my grandmother. I mean, it didn't have anything to do with that.
Mhm.
But avidya, or ignorance, symbolizes the older generation giving birth to the younger generation, but remaining blind. And I think a lot of old people probably represent that very well.
And they do,
And
and
I
I
hope
think,
that we don't.
hopefully not, but
Yeah.
I think the reason for that, one of the reasons for it is that they simply are comfortable with their view
Yes.
of life or situation or rules or whatever it may be in the culture that they're in. And they really don't want that to change as they get older, because that creates openness, and it can create fear.
Chaos.
And yeah, chaos is a bitch, so it becomes very difficult for them to be faced with the younger generations who are maybe experiencing things in a different way. And of course, as the world is always changing, I believe the sequential generations have to respond to the times that they're in, the situation, the, let's say, the milieu that they're in, as opposed to what their grandparents or their predecessors came up through,
And it is hard to let go of that. For me, like,
yeah.
and it didn't work that well for me, but the world as it was, as I knew it, was very familiar.
Right, and most people don't want to leave the familiar. They just do not. So it takes a lot of courage to even begin to do that.
And maybe that's why this is the first Nidana, because
Yeah.
you're entering into that realization of how this works.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to walk this path. That's all I can tell you.
Can see her own world, but not that of her grandchild. Highly inquisitive and gossip oriented. Represents the basic intelligence. Oh, I love this. That stirs up endless clusters of solidification,
Yeah.
solidified thought, and crowded energy.
Yeah. You crowd it so much that you just really don't have any space for anything to come in. That's what I got from that,
Yes.
For anything new, anything different, anything changing, it isn't going to get in there.
And when things do change, it tends to create more grasping. I was just visiting my mom. She was 96, and she was all upset because she got this delivery of boxes, and there's a reason for that. But she has severe dementia, and so I'm trying to explain this. And I said, and she's really worried about getting ripped off. And that seems to be a common reaction of the elder people I've experienced. And so I don't know if you all have had that, but it's like I don't know what's going on, and so they must be ripping me off or stealing my stuff. And she has hardly any stuff.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, go
please.
ahead.
I've found, the older I've gotten, the more I cling to routine. I now have I never used to be that way, but I now have a set routine in the morning that if I kind of stray I'm not myself for a couple of hours. So it's interesting how when we get older, yeah, we have less room for variables.
Yes, I agree. Part of it's because time goes so quickly.
For us, yeah, as we get older, time does seem to go by much quicker.
Yeah.
But we also lose flexibility in our mental processes. And I think, whether it's comfortable or not, changing it up is actually a good thing to do. Because it helps wake you up, It helps
Yeah.
gives you the space to see something a little bit differently.
Yeah, I agree, but it's to take
Yeah.
that step is not voluntarily. Sometimes you're forced to make change, and you realize it's not
Absolutely. I
that
mean,
difficult.
we all face that. We all have that in our lives, you know, so it's important to try to be more flexible if we can be. But I think in this instance, when they're talking about the old grandmother and her inflexibility, and that's the beginning
Yeah, that's the beginning.
of the nidanas, I'm like going, oh dear. So it's like the more I think we can work in this lifetime to be more open and more flexible and more spacious, the better off we're going to be if we come into another precious human birth to start working with the process of being an incarnation so that it's not quite so heavy and not quite so challenging for us, you know, because that's the point. It's just to let it go, give it space, give it
Mm.
air.
Well, and also when you die, I read something that really hung with me, which is that when you die, you want to just be open as possible, and as compassionate as possible. And I think that's really hard if you're, um, you know, um,
If you're compacted.
if you're if you're compacted, that's a good word. And if you're worried about losing ground forever, because you are losing ground forever. I mean,
In a
in a
way,
way,
you're losing this lifetime.
the
ground.
familiarity
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
certainly
yeah.
losing. So
Yeah, it's
the-
interesting, but
yeah.
it's just, you know, a cautionary tale.
Yes.
The blind grandmother.
Well, and it's great to meditate on that,
I think
for
so.
as we maybe as we age, or as we're just
Well, I think it's important for no matter the age of the practitioner, the person who's coming into the Dharma. I mean, even young people can be this as closed-minded as this. I've
Oh,
certainly met a
absolutely.
few like that.
Yeah.
I'm like going, what the heck?
That's
You know,
true.
but
Yes. Okay, so the second one is here comes the potter's wheel
Potter's
again.
wheel.
Yeah, samskara, or conceptual mind, the formation that we create in the conceptual mind based on impulsive accumulation, constant turning of the potter's wheel, busyness. The shaping process of creation represents the conceptual mind forming itself into certain patterns. And so the patterns are those karmic creations.
And karma is definitely becoming more solidified. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I got from
It says the Tibetan word for karma is lei, L-E,
it.
labor, the idea of constantly doing things. And I feel like I'm really good at just going from thing to thing, to action to action. And fortunately, I have a partner who has encouraged me not to schedule back to back to back. But a lot of my friends continue to schedule back to back to back. And I feel like that's definitely the potter's wheel.
No space,
Yeah.
no time.
And then you have that sense of I-ness, sense of other, sense of obligation to become something. Was anybody else stopped by that sense of obligation to become something?
That is so in this culture. I can't even
It
believe it.
is,
Mm.
It is the point of this culture.
yes. Like, what are you? What do you do?
What do
What's
you
your
do?
job?
Not who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
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 Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're asked that question from the time we're 14, 15 years old, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be?
And all the testing that we're put through
Oh
to
my
see
goodness.
what we're, talented to do, And at
Right.
one point, on one of the tests, I remember I was going to be a good factory worker because I have good manual dexterity. I've
Oh.
never been a factory
Right.
ever.
I remember those. You could kind of go, yeah, I like putting stuff together. And then you go, oh, factory work.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's interesting because I was just thinking about the, occupation thing, and even though, I'm retired, it's been about a year. It's hard to let that go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
It's like,
that's a pattern.
oh, I have to get a job. It's like that's constantly keeps coming back.
It's so related to identity or something, that solidification of our concept of self.
Like if you're not doing that job, who are you? Who are you really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that can become really uncomfortable. On the other hand, I jumped into retirement as early as I could.
I've had no trouble with retirement.
I didn't, yeah, I mean, I kind of got, it was more forced on me than it was chosen. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got, okay, this works. I'm not
Yeah.
going back to work.
So that's like a karmic thing, to all of a sudden not have the work when you weren't ready to leave it. So it becomes, you can say it's a horrible thing, or you can say, oh, this is a really good opportunity for me to explore this other part of myself. Yeah.
How are you
Other
doing?
interests.
Well, just slowly doing other things,
Yeah,
to my wife has a lot of push in that 'cause you know what you're missing when you don't have your job is all the human part of that,
Yes,
and that is a big cut off.
right, right.
So yeah, I've just been doing a lot of volunteer stuff for through Aurora, and reconnect with some old coworkers who are mostly retired, and
Yep, that's a really good way to do it. Yeah.
and coming to book group.
yeah,
Yeah,
and this is
coming here.
another thing when I was like, it's really tough here because we don't have constant teachings here. So it's
Yeah.
well, and I've been sick, so yeah, I haven't been able to come much the last few years, but yeah, it's tough. But this at least,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's been super regular, but I did it a while back.
There's a lot of resources online too. There's a lot of teaching that's going on online, things that you can tune into, Zoom things and stuff. If you're interested, to follow up on if it's something some part of the Dharma that you're interested in and, following and getting a different perspective.
Based on what Eliza said, I don't know, she may be with the plumber, but Eliza
Yeah.
had recommended Mingyur Rinpoche, Mingyur Tergar. It's the Tergar
Yeah.
Association.
Midgard here.
Yeah, Mingyur Rinpoche wrote the book In Love with the World. He's written lots of books. And they said, he's got a program there. And I find because I need more contact, I started doing that. And I think I'm going to like it, but I just started this week. So the jury's out.
Yeah.
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 But
No, that sounds like a really good program. I
Yeah.
haven't delved into it myself because I've got so many other things on
Right.
my plate. But he's a really wonderful, open Lama, and I think his genuineness and his practice is really there, big time. And his book, In Love with the World, was just a huge eye opener.
and he's approved by Shoji Rinpoche too. I mean,
Oh, okay.
not for maybe what I'm doing, but his books have been approved. So I know he
I highly
respects
recommended
him.
that
He's-
book.
he's-
It's a eye opener.
He's Nyingma and Kagyu.
Yes.
Yeah, as is Shoji.
The family,
In Love with the World.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So that might be an interesting thing to explore as another, activity if you're interested. But
So
there's a
I'm-
lot.
I'm actually reading his newest book. It's funny, we're all kind of in the same atmosphere. The one where he went on retreat for 4 years, self-imposed. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting book.
Yeah. Yeah, he was raised as like Dharma royalty, you know? So
Yeah, that's what he
he
speaks of.
had to go out of his way to find authentic ways to express his practice. And I'm just really full of admiration for his authenticity. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Truth. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've done the old woman, which was the avidya, and the formation on the potter's wheel, samskara. And these are, of course, things we'll keep coming back to or can keep coming back to.
Mhm.
Consciousness / monkey. Oh.
It's
Isn't this-
interesting to use monkey as the definition of consciousness, but I tell
Mm.
you, it's pretty appropriate. And they do talk about, the teachers talk about our monkey minds. So I believe this is the part,
Yes.
this is what they're referring to.
I think you can live your entire existence going thought until you die.
Absolutely.
And I hadn't really connected with that idea until I started meditating. And it's
Mm.
not that there aren't thoughts, but there's like so much more there than all the junk in my mind.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, the monkey mind.
Yes,
That's how I look at it, you know.
it's true.
And so meditations are a great way, you know, and doing sadhana is a really great way to break the constant chatter,
Yes.
constant wheel that our little mouse in the wheel in our minds that keeps going. And just, I don't know, sitting and looking at trees works for me too.
Yeah.
You know, just sitting and looking at nature, observing without any kind of naming or anything.
I think that
Will
was
slow your mind.
it.
No, it's just, it becomes the space. It becomes more spacious for
Hmm.
me. Not that the thoughts are gone, but they just, they slow down to the pace of what I'm viewing. Let me put it that way. So.
So we don't necessarily have to be sitting, you know, right? For me, sometimes it's, you know, mowing my lawn, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just getting into that.
Believe me, every small thing that we do in our life can be a practice. It's
Hmm.
a matter of how we focus on it or how we engage with it, you know, and like they talk about washing dishes mindfully, you know, which is a very mundane, common thing that we do. And
Yeah.
half the time I catch myself thinking about the 10,000 things and not washing my cup, which
like
is what I need to be focusing on, you know.
It's like
So it's
giving that monkey something to do.
yeah, basically, yeah, I think that's it. I think, you know, it can definitely, but it's true for any engaged activity that we enjoy doing, or even if we don't enjoy doing it, but we can just really focus on it, you know.
Well, not a whole lot of things have stuck, but for improvements in my life. But one of the books, it's not on,
Yeah.
and one little tiny thing that he said was, when you're driving and you have the red light, don't be angry at the red light. Use the red light you got this little meditation time that you have,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
that's stuck, and I use that.
That's
You know, I
great.
don't like stuff, you know, you could get real tense about the whole
Absolutely.
driving thing, and instead of like.
Yeah, driving is a challenge, and that comes up a lot in conversations with my fellow Sangha members, because we all react. We just react, boom. You know, somebody cut us off, you know, somebody stopped right in front of us, somebody's zooming, you know, doing the checkerboard thing.
And it
at
feels
speed.
like your life's at stake sometimes.
And driving is a dangerous occupation, and cars are weapons, honestly. And people use them like weapons
Yeah, they do
sometimes, you know, I mean, it's like they're projecting their anger and their aggression into how they drive. And actually, some of the worst people I've seen are downhill ski drivers driving home on I-70.
I could be that person.
And they're driving in the, the pull-out lane to
Oh,
get ahead of the
gosh.
traffic and stuff.
Oh, that's
Oh my God.
crazy. Yeah.
No, I've just seen a lot of crazy stuff, but, it's just how people relate to this tool of our lives that we really depend on and how they misuse it.
And for me, it's been a great forum for practice because I can see it so immediately.
Yep.
I
it's
can
right there.
see both the positive and negative wages of my practice when I'm driving.
Sure.
It's really interesting.
Although there really are no positives and negatives, ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately. But I can see that, I've made progress because I used to be one of those drivers.
Impatient.
Yeah, and
Get out of the way. You're in my way.
and very competitive,
Yeah.
super competitive. I'm like, that's really interesting. Why are you competitive?
What is there to be competitive about?
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going in the same direction, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And
So,
yeah, like on the way here, somebody, zipped around me, and I always leave a lot of room between me and the next car, for safety reasons. And people just take that because I'm going too darn slow. And I'm like, wow, you are really in a hurry. I'm glad I'm not you.
yeah.
But I also try some of the Tonglen, to try and imagine, where that person might be and, what is it that they need. I mean, it's really a good,
It's a wonderful opportunity for
yeah, it's an
practice.
opportunity.
That's all I can say. It
Yeah.
really
Right.
is.
I think we spoke last class or class before about, getting wisdom from those moments.
Yes.
That's a challenge for me as well. I'm really mad, but what can I learn from. So yeah, trying to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Christina, remember when Christina's teaching, she said, you guys need to come in with this joke. Where you just have some
Oh,
remind you
yes.
of this
You
joke
did.
that
Yeah.
it's really short. So
Okay.
so how many Buddhists does it take to screw in a light bulb? Heard that one?
I'm guessing none.
So it's three.
All three.
One to screw the light bulb in. One not to screw the light bulb in.
Okay.
One to screw in and not screw in the light bulb.
The three
That
states
just
of
reminded
mind.
me when you said.
No,
That's
that's three
great.
states of mind. Absolutely. That's a perfect analogy for that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I think we all get the consciousness monkey, and then name and form. Person in a boat. I don't know why it's symbolized by a person in a boat. I guess.
Except the boat is probably the thing
The
that
boat?
you've created. No, it's the vehicle for the
Oh,
consciousness, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
for the consciousness in the ocean, for the
That makes sense
The
because the
sense of self.
ocean is awareness.
well, but
And-
also the ocean is where we're living. We're living in an ocean, essentially an ocean of air, basically.
okay.
But the samsaric existence is an ocean too. Think of it like
okay.
that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the boat means, but that's what came to my mind when I read it, and I thought, that's a weird,
That just makes sense, actually.
That works for me.
More easy for me to understand.
Yeah.
What he wrote here.
It got pretty dense on the person in the boat. Yeah.
So on the person in the boat, Nama Rupa, name and form, gesture of hope and of a dream coming true. So I'm doing all of these things, I'm defining things, and then I start naming and creating bodies of beliefs, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Because it was talking about political or philosophical
Right. And
reinforcement.
so and we see that all the time, you know, certainly in certain really religious communities. It's the Hasidim come to my mind for this, you know, how rigid their rules of living are, and they're for every aspect of their day and life is completely ruled by the, and I don't think it's all from the Torah. I think it's a whole bunch of rules that came into being at some point in the diaspora, but it's very strict,
It is very,
very, very strict. And well, the Amish are maybe in a form of that too.
yeah.
They have a very
They could be.
strict, you know, structure.
And certain sects of probably every religion.
Yeah,
can do
there
that
is a
way.
strict form in every religious belief system, I think. And I think for Christian, it would be the monastic form, especially certain orders
Mm.
that are really, really restrictive and not necessarily service oriented. I think if you're service oriented, you have to be a little more flexible. But anyway,
Yeah.
Are you thinking about, like a parallel to this?
I think it's what he was getting at as far as the boat and the person in the boat can be, in this case, the structure that you're born into
Yeah. It's
And you're-
in your society, or the belief systems especially.
I see.
it's
That's what I'm thinking.
the vehicle that carries you through. And it's based on, this very intricate system.
It can be pretty
And
intricate.
the-
And I have to tell you that as you get into the more strict forms of practice, when you get into Vajrayana, it can get really, really strict. But it's on purpose in that case to train them. It's for mind training, to train your mind to be able to let go of all this, basically, But I think the strictness is in the philosophical, religious, or cultural thing is something that all of us have experienced one way or another.
And that naming, like we'll take
Mhm.
behaviors and then we name them, good, evil, all.
And maybe maybe he doesn't say it, but maybe this is where the total dualistic approach to life really comes from,
Maybe.
Although I understood that to come actually from the potter's wheel to get the I and the you. That's
where
the beginning of
begins.
duality.
Yeah.
But this may become, then the boat may represent the I and you in cultural terms,
It's a real intensification of that, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, the six sense faculties, the six-windowed house. And it was interesting that they talked about, the five senses, and then the sixth sense, they define as mind, what we, small mind, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, which is, touching, sensation, and mind. The six senses provide a sense of security for the monkey. And I like that he draws these conclusions, and you've alluded to this, Paula.
Mhm.
The situation is tentative and embryonic. The monkey's relatively awake, but there's a quality of paranoia.
Mhm.
Monkey is a guardian and director, leading to some sophistication and diplomacy. So,
Another way to look at this possibly is that, well, if you're a fan of Darwin and evolution.
yeah,
Not everybody is. This, I think, a lot in some ways alludes to, let's say, I'm going to say primitive or less evolved form that we have come from. Although potentially, from my understanding, from my teachings, we can come from any form into the human realm.
Oh, so
So-
this would be a previous incarnation.
Or
We're
it
not
can-
human.
It can be because when you talk about paranoia, relatively awakened paranoia, that paranoia is like to protect you from what possibly could come from not you,
Oh, like a predator.
a predator.
Yeah.
So, at least that was what came to mind when I read that. I don't know that that's correct, but,
Well, I'm sure that could be an interpretation.
it's just interesting to have the monkey as the guardian and director. I'm telling you, the monkey mind is in charge.
Yeah, the monkey is insistent. That's true.
And will override just about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So the sixth is called Sparsha, contact married couple. So testing the functioning of the situation through contact with masculine and feminine principles, which are complementary. By trying to capture this fascination and make it solid, you develop personality. You develop self-respect based on foreign as domestic relationships, symbolized by passionate kissing, making connections, and no sense of humor. He emphasized that. I thought that was interesting. Um, I guess because if this, passionate kissing, this is like really making an important connection, then you wouldn't have a sense of humor about that. Like if this connection is really important to you based on all of the machinations that preceded this on the.
well, it's another form of solidity.
Yes.
And, if you're gonna make something solid, you're not gonna laugh about it or have humor about it.
Oh,
You're not gonna see it in a different kind of light of it being impermanent or,
well, I think especially when you start exposing yourself to other people, which is what
Mhm.
this implies, like, I remember I used to, when I would get into, like, say, a political discussion with somebody who didn't agree with me, my heart rate would go up and it would be like, I was so invested in being right
or in your view.
in my view.
Yeah.
Yes. And that kind of feels like what he's describing
It
here.
might be, but
And I
the
think
male, the feminine and masculine principle that he's talking about here are the basic nature that we have within ourselves. And is a very important part of achieving enlightenment is the combination of those two elements within our consciousness. And especially at death, especially when we're dying,
Really?
that the male principle and the female principle meet in the heart center. Yeah, there's some really
Oh.
extensive teachings I've had on that. And if you're really solidly stuck in the concrete version of that in your mind, of the male female thing, it won't necessarily work, but it's much more fluid than a lot of people know or accept. But I think we're experiencing that now in our culture more for people who are intersex or who are bisexual or who are
Gender non-specific.
non-specific. And
Yeah.
that, to me, it takes tremendous courage to live that way and to be out that way, in this culture that really requires, the male is like this and the female is like this. And the reality
If
is
you want
that-
everybody to feel comfortable around you, this is what you do or be, or.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's actually, in reality, that isn't actually how it is. It's much more fluid than it. But in a physical form, whatever form we take, that's generally what we've chosen for whatever reason.
Before I started studying Buddhism, I I really disliked being a woman. And I said, this is probably because I was an asshole of a man in my previous life.
And not necessarily, I mean.
Not necessarily.
No,
Okay.
but I do understand what you're saying. I do.
Because I was like, this just isn't right. Being a woman like this really sucks.
Well, I mean, I think that feeling, at least this is my take on it, is that because we live in such a divided kind of culture in terms of what is correct for male and what's correct
Yes.
for female,
Yeah.
and what's possible for male and what's possible for female, and those lines, they started blurring in our generation
Yeah.
a little bit more, especially after World War II. It just started becoming a kind of a non-starter in terms of the really serious divisions. But if you even go back 100 years from
Oh
now,
my gosh.
it was really, really hard
Yeah.
for a woman to own a business, to own a house, to determine her own destiny. Some women managed it, a lot of times because they came from wealthy families, sometimes because they were incredibly poor. A lot of people of color
Yes.
have had this challenge, and it's
So we went offline, and I guess you have to reinitiate the audio when that happens.
I gotcha.
Okay. Thank you.
I engineer.
Um, yeah, so the male, female, but I think there are ideas that are also kind of looked at, or ways of behavior. Well, that's more feminine energy, more masculine energy, and the Tibetans talk about that quite a bit.
they do.
And they don't say, well, this is just for, it's masculine, but you can be a woman and have that kind of energy.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but believe me, their culture, the Tibetan culture, is as stratified as ours.
Isn't it? I wonder this. Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not letting women do llama,
There are many women lamas now,
but there are,
even in Tibet, and that has happened over, I think, because of the diaspora, to be honest.
Oh.
But also, the reason why there weren't as many women lamas in the past is because they never received the financial and emotional support to become lamas that their male relatives did. In other
That
words,
makes sense.
if they had enough resources to send one child to the monastery to train, it would have been the man or the boy.
Yeah.
Not the woman. So many women who have chosen to follow Dharma and to live in a monastic life have had to figure out how to make that work. And it's not easy, but a lot of them have been very successful. And
Yes.
So, and there are several Western women who have been made lamas by their teachers. I know, personally know, 3 of them.
And I can't remember, when I first started, I can't remember exactly, but with that type of thing, it was like, I didn't like it,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
like that sounds not right. You know, they're asking you to question,
yeah.
so it's like,
It seems contradictory. I know.
yes, so, you know.
Yeah, I had some trouble with that myself at the beginning, or when I first got into it, and I thought, so I was kind of like arm's length for quite a while, because I didn't want to get myself involved in a really strong patriarchal type situation in the organization. But I realized with my teacher that, he understood from his point of view and his training, and he understood our Western culture. A lot of the freedoms that we've managed to evolve here for women in our culture have, and for men, who are kind of translating into other cultures at this point. Oh yeah, that is possible. That we all come into our incarnations with a certain amount of ability to comprehend and think, and because women actually represent the wisdom aspect anyway, of the method and wisdom, which are combined.
Yeah.
And there is unfortunate downfalls that I have said a lot. The 14th one is basically not to discourage or disparage women, not to discourage or be disparaged of the feminine principle, basically. This is for all practitioners to not have these downfalls in their practice, and that's one that's in there.
That's great.
So that's a
Yeah.
recognition
Yeah.
in the confessions that this is an issue within the culture to disparage women and to look at them as other or less than, and but there are many cultures that have that at this point, so it's just going to be a slow process.
And
They call culture.
forward, backward, as we're seeing. Anyway, contact married couple. Oh,
Paula, do you have the name of any female llamas that
Pema
recommend
Chödrön is one of the main ones that most of us know. Pema Chödrön.
Pemacha? Oh, right. Okay.
And you may not know her, but her center is in southern Colorado, La Terra Mandala, Lama Solstrom Alioni. And she's an emanation of Maciek Labrum, who developed the Chid practice that we have within the Dharma.
wow.
That's a big fucking deal.
Wow. It sounds like, yeah, we could spend a lot of time just on that.
And then let's see, I don't know if you know any of the others. Gosh, can I remember her name? No, I know more than 3 other women. Personally, I know 4 women. Yeah.
Well, Christina did that translation for Sarah Condra, right?
Sarah Condra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Christina's, she was very connected to her.
Yeah. Very accomplished women who are very accomplished in the practice, in the Dharma, who have mastered it and really know about it, can write about it, can teach, can help students to find their own path.
So after, I'm going to move on here because we're halfway through. From the married couple, we moved to Vedana, or feeling, which is symbolized. I love this because it's so visceral for me. Symbolized by the arrow through the eye, which they actually show
Yeah, they do.
in this rendering, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't see it in this rendering. The arrow through the eye. I don't know, because there's married couple.
Is this the house? Here's the couple.
Yeah, oh, there's the
So
couple.
here's the eye, or supposedly the eye.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and I don't see it. So
But
anyway.
in your drawing, it was very clear.
yes.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Vedana. And that's feeling. So having made contact in the world, you get a rebound or echo, like when you're with somebody and you want a reaction and you put yourself out there, you get all sorts of feelings coming up. Feeling is a penetrating and painful experience.
Mhm.
The first real perception of this and that, me, my mom. I thought I was the same with my mom, but I'm not. Feeling alive, but with an arrow in the eye.
The arrow in the eye, that is such an evocative,
Yes.
image. And it just.
At least it doesn't go all the way in.
It doesn't go to the brain. It doesn't skewer the brain and make you
So you
a
don't-
eyeball.
Doesn't get your brain.
Yeah. It's
Plenty
quite
of
the
stuff,
image.
but not.
But this is what feelings are. We feel like they're so real
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh.
eternal and yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about
It is
solidification.
my son was the whole. They didn't do anything to you. You know, in the teachings he would say that, and it took me quite a long time before I like kind of get it.
Mhm.
You know, it's like they didn't do anything to you.
Yeah,
They physically,
right.
but that did take a long time before you, and it still isn't always, kind of react and it just happens. But yeah,
The memory of it, and
well, to always
or the
to be able to blow it off instead of isn't always possible.
No.
No. Yeah,
It takes some time, but in fact, it's a really good, again, like the driving thing, it's a really good, let's say, impetus to your practice. To utilize the things that you've learned with meditation and with Glenn and with just letting go. And it's a really good test of the ability to do that, and whether you succeed or not is really irrelevant, but it gives you that time, that the impetus, the effort to make the effort to do it. And sometimes that's the most important thing, is making the effort, not
I
necessarily being successful or not. Doesn't matter.
I used to get into what I call these dances with my husband, but they were serious. I mean, deadly serious. And each one of us had to be right. And now, like, we'll get into, he'll do first step or I'll do first step, and then there'll be second step, and I'll go, oh, we're doing that thing. And it really doesn't matter to me. And then I let it go. And then he might continue on, but he doesn't continue on the way in my mind he used to. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you're not
I
feeding,
stopped
you're not
dancing.
feeding, you're not participating,
I'm not,
you're not
yeah.
creating the
I'm just
energy
like,
thing.
oh, that's his thing.
I
Okay.
used to do that with my mother.
Ah.
We fought like cats and dogs when I was still living at home. And when I left home to go to college, I just said, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna do my thing. But of course, that dynamic continued on until she passed away. But I developed a way of just stepping away.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You just don't engage in it. It takes two to tangle is true.
Yeah, it really does. When I see it as a dance, and I read the book, The Dance of Anger, I kind of developed that image from there. But I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do this dance. And it applies to almost everything, unless it's something really, really important that is, like seeing somebody being hurt by somebody else, that would be, really difficult for me. I
Yeah.
think I would probably not let go of that
You
very
know,
well.
one of the Christina things that partially I thought one was on the weaker was that it's not all about me.
No,
And if you can, it's like, you're a lot happier if you can do that. And you realize it's like, you don't have to have your way. And it ain't gonna hurt you if you don't. So
right.
And if you can, like really use some of the meditation experiences and kind of get into the compassion and understand,
Mm.
what is motivating that person to be in that place, then it really helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, again, is just looking at those events as a way to really utilize your practice, utilize the ability to actually motivate yourself and change
Right.
on a fundamental level, yeah.
And coming that to ego too, right? Like I don't have to be right. I don't have me wanting to be right is feeding my,
Yes.
Yeah.
feeding my ego.
It just reinforces it, a lot of times, but we do that a number of different ways.
Oh,
Lots of ways to do that. Yeah.
okay. So, 8, craving, drinking milk and honey, Trishna, or craving, symbolized by drinking milk and honey, though he says, because he westernizes it for us, more like ice cream and rice pudding. Food that one doesn't have to exert any effort on. It slides through your body. You don't have to bother to swallow, more like it swallowed you, which is a great image, the food swallowing
I
you.
know that got me.
Fantastic pleasure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think of like this bubbly person on a bubbly pillows, just yeah.
Yes, the bonbons on the pillow, right?
Was there, who was that guy in Dune? The guy they had to prop up with all the.
He was the
Oh,
uncle.
gross
But,
guy.
Yeah, he
yeah.
reminds me of
Oh
this.
my God,
He was so disgusting.
they really did a good job in that.
They
movie.
did. Let's see. You are being completely cared for, though it's based on helplessness, which is the quality of craving. So I'm at my mom's and I'm watching this woman be spoon fed, and I'm thinking, oh, this kind of reminds me of number 8, which is again
Well,
the Trishna.
yeah, he talked about it, being hospitalized and just being completely catered to, taken care of completely.
Yeah.
And I have several friends who have had to have hospitalizations and they were like in heaven, complete heaven, that they got fed and they came and talked to them and they took care of them and this and that. And they just like could have stayed there forever,
I think some people must really like that. I would hate that.
I have no desire to do that, but when he's talking about the craving and impulse, I do understand that because seems like that, like you want to eat something that you really like and you go, oh yeah, and I really like this, and then I really like this, and then I really like this.
Yeah.
And that of course leads to overeating. Or I really enjoy doing this, and this, and it leads to this, and then it leads to this, and it leads to this. And I think that's what he's talking about, this craving thing, because
The
it's like one
endless
thing
craving.
feeds the next thing.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I've experienced that.
And it's not necessarily in a constructive way,
Right.
not necessarily beneficial.
Yeah. So craving and impulse take over and lead to the next nidana, which is called upadana, or grasping, symbolized by gathering fruit. So you demonstrate youthful exuberance, reveling in sensations. Your life is so good, you are falling in love with it. A tendency to do whatever you feel like doing.
Footloose and fancy free.
So I lived in Oregon growing up near Mount Hood, and they used to have these big strawberry fields, and you could go in the month of June you know, with your flats and pick strawberries for your mom. And you could eat as many as you wanted on the way. And they were so good. That's what this reminds me of.
Oh,
Mm.
it's like a
It-
heaven type.
Oh,
of
it was. And I was young and, you know, like didn't care that I was all messed up. And yeah.
Mm.
And then I was pretty in love with that. But there are way more relevant situations, I think, than that.
No, I think that's a really good analogy
Yeah.
for what he's talking about here.
Or maybe going away to college for the first time and going to parties and not knowing that what drinking is and drinking too much
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, I'm one of those people that if I drink too much, I throw up.
That too.
I mean, I don't have hangovers, but it's
Oh.
disgusting before that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I only did that a couple times.
Yeah.
Decided I did not want to do that again.
Yeah. And but the youthful exuberance.
Yeah.
Yeah, reveling in such that was definitely my college years.
Yeah, I think all of us have experienced this revelation, this reveling of freedom and whatnot, and you know, doing what you feel like doing. Yeah.
Well, and two, I think if you came of age in the 60s, 70s, there was ample opportunity for that.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the rules were absolutely thrown out at that
And
point.
I don't know if you had so much freedom. Were you able to just say, oh, I'm just going to try this and I'll do that, and this is so fun, and
Me growing up,
yeah.
Or in
Any-
your college years,
yeah.
when you left home and you were,
in
On your
theory, yeah,
own.
I mean, I changed my major several times.
yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is making me think of, and I don't know if it's quite right thinking, but something Tracy had told me about being lazy, or what they call lazy.
Uh-huh.
About you're not spending the time doing something on the path. You're being lazy. Where this grasping is like makes me think of that, because it's like that is what, you know,
You're definitely not on the path.
you're more on TV. You're watching your TV.
Yeah.
You're or
Staying up all night
whatever.
playing video games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I can still do stuff like that.
I can too.
And
I consider it like relaxation for my mind. Yeah.
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 Then number 10 is bhava, or becoming, symbolized by a copulating couple. You have been captured by this life, where you had been expressing so much freedom, you are stuck with one apple. And so you found the love of your life, and you also have a faint quality of discomfort. In my case, it was a huge quality of discomfort because it was so much commitment.
But I think that's just a symbol of it, because it can be anything, not just a personal
Yes, it could.
relationship.
It could.
It's deciding to follow a particular path for your work, or what you're going to define yourself as, for work, or how you relate within your community, how you present yourself in the community as a, person of letters, or a very religious person, or any number of things, can be whatever you decided to commit yourself to, or that you have to commit yourself to.
Well, and it is, I do have that sense of commitment when I'm reading that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it's
anytime
also
I
part of the
commit-
obligation part,
yes.
that we have to do this.
And
Yeah,
that's
the work is exactly like this.
Mhm.
Yeah, after a while, you're not gonna change, you got comfortable and you're not gonna change the career.
Mhm.
Right.
You're like, I gotta finish this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of different that way because I started out doing one thing and then it was in the oil and gas industry, which cratered in Colorado in the early 80s. And so I went back to school and got my degree. And then I went back into oil and gas, as a geologist. But yeah, I was able to make a lot of different changes within my working life. I found it really interesting that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And I was happy to do it. Yeah. It's just how it turned out.
Yeah.
So,
But anytime you make a decision to go in a specific direction, there are all those other directions you did not choose. So ergo the faint discomfort, I imagine,
yeah.
or prominent in my case.
No, I mean, there are a lot of people like a lot of women, for example, have to give up whatever their aspirations are for higher learning or for their careers in order to be a mother within a marriage situation. This happened to a lot of women, where they've had to make that choice. And uh
I'm so totally flipped on that whole topic because what a decade ago I would have been, she should do the career thing, but now I'm like, no, the parenting thing is more important than the career thing. It's just really is.
it's very important.
Yeah, like and how do we as a society accommodate that?
You're responsible for raising kids
Mhm.
who are, grown up in the society, and yeah, that's not as important as the whatever the job
But
is.
there's that practical thing that only lasts 20 years. And
No, it
then
doesn't
well,
last
no,
as
no.
long as it lasts.
Well, no, I know that's true. That is true, but I'm just saying that
If you're a parent, you're
precludes-
always a parent.
but it precludes working for,
Yeah.
no more than 20 years. And not even that much. I mean, if you're a woman who's, or a man oftentimes who has a lot of interest to just be doing kids for 20 years is a lot. And then you're like, okay, now what do I do when people go, well, what have you been doing for the last 20 years? And we don't value raising kids. So people don't say that in interviews. You did such important work.
They do not.
No, they do not.
They're a definite disadvantage at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that again is a reflection of the culture we live in and the values of the culture that we live in.
Yes.
And of course, we're reaping the
Oh,
We're extra,
the
the
results.
wages. Yes.
we're extra.
Yeah.
Other countries are
A lot more supportive
They
of the
are.
parenting situation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
A lot of the more
Well,
of the developing
often-
countries. And,
all that.
yeah. But I have to say that most parents really do. I mean, not all, but most seem to do whatever they can to make it work. You know what I'm saying? As far as if they need to work and they have to take care of kids and they just have to figure it out. But that's where having a village or a community
Oh, yeah.
becomes very important. As opposed to just the mom and dad and the family unit as they call it, which is nice, but if you don't have the extended part of that, it can get really tough.
Absolutely.
Even if everybody's, you have enough money and you have enough support, whatever you need for your kids.
Last week there was this young couple when I was getting copies, and there was this little kid, and he was clearly bored, and he was about 4 years old, and he would just be like, his head was on the counter, and he's like rolling his eyes. He's like, so I kept like making faces at him and stuff. His parents, I was there for like 10, 15 minutes the whole time. They were super young and they did not look at him or engage with him at all. They were just like all about this phone and what she was doing on her phone. I'm like, oh, golly.
Nope.
Yeah, they need a village.
Yep.
Well, a lot of times even the kids themselves are on. I've seen young couples come in and put a little iPad in front of the kid and just
Yes.
he's got his thing and the parents have their thing and there's no
Yeah.
interaction whatsoever.
There's a lot of
Wow.
consequence for all of that.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is-
no doubt.
Well, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are. Okay. Thank you for birth, women in childhood or childbirth. Jati or birth symbolized by women giving birth. Copulation as the only seeming way of appreciating the organic natural world. And so then you get the product of that, which is the baby or the whatever the product is. Evidence of becoming a mother or father to provide legitimacy. This is my idea. This is my, whatever. Birth is cause and effect taking place. It is the karmic result. It is truth. At this point, the fun and love of making love is reduced to producing another life, which I thought was an interesting wording, reduced to producing another life, which is also your life, which is interesting. The discovery of change becomes irritating. The exuberance of youth leads to decay, feebleness, and death.
That's quite disheartening, isn't it, that state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see this in my family. I see this in my own life. I was just walking down the street the other day, like doing a walk or whatever, and it just flashed on me in a very real way that I'm really getting close to death, because I see how quickly life has gone. And it was not a
We're on the
negative
angel
feeling,
side.
but it was more of, I think it's because of the meditation. I think it's because of this class. I think it's, I was just like, yeah. And, trying to come to grips with 12, old age, death, the funeral procession. Because you can get really involved with family to or I can, to such a degree that you kind of forget it's not all fun and games, now.
Actually, very little of it is fun and games, and it looks like.
Well, now it is. Now it is because I'm a grandma.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the fun part,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I think what's interesting about these nidanas is that, and the teachings that I've had before, is that in fact, when the moment we're born, we're in the process of dying from the very moment that we're born.
Yes.
That is a part of being alive, is that there's death. And so that death can come at any time after you have achieved physical form.
Yeah.
And most of us sitting here are very lucky. We're getting into a fairly mature age and a lot of experience, hopefully, a lot of ability to a lot to bring to the table.
Yeah.
As far as the wisdom goes. And but yeah, death is on our shoulder. It's just that we can become more and more clear about that as we get older and take it as a, yeah, it's an inevitability. We're all born and we all die. That's just it. That's, boom, boom. But this can be a really good, let's say, impetus to follow to do the practice, to do the meditation, to clear our minds, to be, as conscious as we can be within our lives to, make the most of it, because here we are.
More appreciative, certainly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said clear because that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives you clarity.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so old age and death, the funeral procession, Jara Marana. symbolized by the funeral procession. You experience decay, sickness, and dying. After the fun of playing with phenomena, I'm like, oh yeah. Finally, birth and death come very close together. When my grandmother was 89, I'm like 35, she says, she was very ill, and I visited her in the hospital, and I said, I don't want to say, so do you think you're dying? That would not be cool. So I said, so grandma, how are you feeling about life? And she said, oh, so sad. And I said, why is that? And she said, because it is so short.
Uh,
And I was like, wow, she's
Yep.
89 and
No, she
she's
got
saying
it.
that.
She got it.
Yes. And that was a
Aware.
very valuable statement that she imparted to me.
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Life is short.
because when you're 35 or whatever, and you look ahead, it all seems like so
Endless.
distant. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. And there's no guarantee how long
No.
we'll continue in our physical form. But, it's important to do what we can while we can. Make the most of it.
Yeah. So let's see what else. That it is the truth of life. Death becomes the physically overpowering situation of having, oh, I love this too, having too many things to manage. Like if you go through the process my mother's going through because she's so old, you let, your life becomes smaller and smaller and
As far
smaller.
as stuff goes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's
And
stuff
activity,
and
yeah.
activities, everything, and you become very childlike, like almost a baby in some regards. But then that becomes too much to manage.
It can be.
Even, yeah,
That's why they really definitely encourage you as you get older to go ahead and just, let go of your stuff, I have a house full of stuff.
It's
That I've
like-
inherited, and then my own stuff,
yeah.
And I'm going, oh God, I can't take this anymore.
Oh,
So.
that's hard. Do you
No, it
have-
isn't. It's fine. I am a scorched earth person. When I'm in the mood,
Oh,
I have no trouble
I am too,
getting
and
rid
then I
of the
regret.
stuff.
And then do you have remorse after that?
I try not to.
Yes. that's good.
If I give something away, I try in my mind to just say, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It no longer exists.
Yeah.
Not to have any regret.
Very good. The many objects and relationships you have created become the inspiration for the charnel ground. And that's a burial ground, right?
Well, it's where they traditionally would burn the bodies.
Yeah.
But it also can be also in Tibetan. The charnel ground is also where they do the sky burials. Do you know about those?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
Oh.
There's some really
Oh,
good
it's
videos about
8:31.
this.
We can't do it. It's 8:31. I'm sorry. I knew all this stuff. Please, Paula.
we'll lead off with that next meeting.
The
Okay,
charnel
the charnel
ground.
grounds. Okay. There will be a brief digression next week on the charnel grounds. Okay, let's do. And in the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities, merit, and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. By this merit, may all babies gain admissions, and thus defeat the neurosis and negative actions which are the enemies. From the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated. Thank you, everyone, for this great discussion. I get kind of worried that the group is getting too small. But, you know, I feel like I learned so much from this group and I appreciate it so much. And
I do too.
there's space for everybody to be heard. And so I hope, you know, everybody feels that same level of satisfaction as I do.
Good.
Yes.
Really good for
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Tim. Bye, Jackson.
Bye. Guess the plumber came for Horizon.
I think the plumber came. Okay, and I'm going to exit so that it stops recording. Yeah.
Pretty amazing book.
It is.
It's like.
It's